Seahawks, in a number of them, Dave, have or a number of the mocks have the Seahawks going cornerback.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that's popped up all of a sudden. It was like one person did it, then another, and then another, and then, Joey Porter has popped up there, the kid from Oregon, whose name once
Christian
again,
Gonzalez,
yeah.
and then Cam Smith, cornerback out of South Carolina.
Yeah,
and these are all first round. And
yeah.
two of them, Dave, with the number 5 overall pick.
Right.
Now, we always say we never know what the Seahawks are going to do. And after Kristen Michael, I will never say as emphatically as I did then that they most certainly, the one thing they will not do is draft a running back, which is what I said. And they drafted a running back.
Yeah.
But outside of a kicker and a punter at number 5, this might be the position I feel most certain they won't take at 5. I won't say emphatically.
Corner?
Yes.
How about receiver? Isn't that more unlikely other than punter and maybe?
I think they're both wildly unlikely.
How about long snapper?
Yes, that I will say without any doubt whatsoever. They will not take a long snapper at 5. But a cornerback at 5?
But here's the thing. What if you get – and look, I know that we made Sauce Gardner kind of into a bad guy this year because the 5th rounder here in town, Tariq Woolen, had
outplayed him.
A more, I don't know that he outplayed him. And, the thing about him is, you look at the plays that he makes. The other thing is if you ask other corners like Marcus Trufant, who I tend to listen to when it comes to corner play, because he was a pretty damn good one. Like, oh, man, his feet, his eyes, everything, like he's the perfect corner.
The stats were in Woolen's favor, though.
Yeah, totally in his favor. But still, just some of the plays, sometimes, they're not thrown your way. There's all kinds of things that figure into it. I'm not defending Sauce Gardner getting Rookie of the Year defensively, but if you could get a guy like that, though, I don't know. I mean,
is there one, though? I guess I haven't paid a ton of attention to cornerbacks just because you look at it and go, well, that's not a Seahawks need. It doesn't mean they shouldn't draft, or they certainly could use depth, and we don't know what's going to happen to Trey Brown. So if they were to draft one somewhere within their 10 picks, of course, I'm on board.
Yeah.
At 5, though, I just hadn't even considered it.
Seems like they need help other places.
Yeah, their pressing need is still the defensive line. Maybe it's a quarterback, if they have a passion about one of these guys, but I don't know. Is there a Sauce Gardner in here? Is there a guy that's being touted as such? Because I honestly have been so focused on defensive tackles, defensive ends, some of the quarterbacks, in terms of what they're going to do there at that particular pick.
Well, it's funny, because now all of a sudden, and look, you give the mock drafters, I don't know if it's because we are, paying so much attention because they have the top 5, but I've never seen such a huge swing and so many different voices and different people. It used to be like there's 4 guys that you look at for a mock draft. It was Bucky Brooks and, Mel Kiper and
Todd McShay.
Yeah. So, but now, but if you ask, who was it? Chad Reuter? Or no, it was Tom Fornelli was talking about Cam Smith, the cornerback out of South Carolina, and he was saying how I can't wait till this guy shows up as Rookie of the Year, and then I'm going to let everybody know that I've been talking about him for forever. So he's entirely sold on him. Chad Reuter got Joey Porter. That's Joey Porter's
Junior.
From the Steelers. Yeah. His son, he's a Penn State guy, and then you mentioned Christian Gonzalez, who's a big kid, and so I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be one of those where you'd go, but we'll ask John about this. But as far as the whole position thing, I remember asking him one time about corners, and it's like, do you prefer? I mean, are you guys exclusively going for these long-legged, long-armed corners? It's like, well, yeah, if everything's all being equal, but we'll take Trey Brown, which they did, and that was sometime after that, like everybody had pigeonholed the Seahawks. And so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, pigeonholing them as they've never taken a guy that high, so they're not going to do that. I don't think any of that stuff matters. To me, it's exactly like the Ohio State quarterback not having success, not drafting him and blaming the fact that he went to Ohio State, why he can't make it in the NFL. That just is not a thing. So, I mean, I think that's the same thing with corner. Wide receiver is another position. I think they drafted Golden Tate at number 60, and then Richardson was at 45. He's the highest receiver Pete and John have drafted.
Right, and the highest they've drafted a cornerback was back in 06. Kelly Jennings, 31st.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and that was before
Pete and John.
I think
But just
Shaquille's still at number
Was he third round?
90. Yeah, third rounder.
Yeah, so it's just the tradition or the history tells you, well, this is what they. It doesn't mean they don't stray from it. I don't think they go in there going, we don't draft any, we don't consider any quarterbacks, cornerbacks, wide receivers, whatever the position is.
Yeah.
We don't consider them until this round. I don't think that's how it goes for them.
Yeah, but it just makes you wonder also because with what that could be about is that maybe they believe that corners aren't evaluated very well. Like there's a certain way, and maybe it's Pete because he's an old defensive back coach, that they know they can get a good player in the 4th and 5th round, and that they know that nobody's going to take Tariq Woolen in the first 2 rounds or 3 rounds or whatever. So Richard Sherman's the same thing. I mean, how is it that you draft that guy in the 5th round? Same thing
Both
as
guys
Tariq.
in the 5th.
Yeah,
One
and-
pick apart, by the way, in terms of overall
Right.
position.
The only thing I would say is, Richard Sherman's done it. We'll see about Tariq. I mean, he had a fantastic rookie year, and I think he's got the mentality for it. But still, same thing that maybe corners are just wildly overgraded or undergraded or something just in the NFL in general. If there's, they just have a special knack for getting those guys later on.
So hypothetically, they take a corner at 5. How are you feeling?
I just would say, okay, I hope that this is Sauce Gardner. Because
You better be Darrell Revis. You better be Gardner. You
Yeah.
better be at 5. First time you've had a top 5 pick in your tenure with this team, and you go cornerback.
well, and especially looking at who they have.